January 3rd, 2026. While most of the world was sleeping, United States forces pulled off one of the most audacious and controversial military operations in modern history. Its code name, Operation Absolute Resolve. Its target, the sitting president of Venezuela, Nicolás Maduro. In a lightning-fast raid on the capital city of Caracas, he was captured, extracted, and is now in American custody. This isn't a hypothetical. This isn't a war game. This is the real story behind the secret mission that has the world on a knife's edge. We'll explore the decades of tension that led to this moment and what President Trump plans to do now that he's accomplished the unthinkable, the point of no return. So how did American special operators end up in the heart of Caracas? Well, this operation didn't happen in a vacuum. The roots of this conflict go way back to 1999, when Hugo Chavez took power, declared Venezuela a socialist state, and positioned his country as an anti-imperialist opponent of the United States. Relations soured almost immediately. Tensions rose and fell over the years, but things got much worse under Chavez's successor, Nicolás Maduro. In 2015, the Obama administration officially declared Venezuela a threat to its national security and hit the country with sanctions for human rights violations. But when Donald Trump entered the White House, the pressure campaign escalated into a full-blown confrontation. The administration didn't just see Maduro as a political rival, they painted him as a criminal kingpin. The final slide into open conflict really kicked off in late 2025. In August, President Trump signed a secret directive giving the Pentagon the green light to use military force against specific Latin American drug cartels. At the same time, he doubled the bounty on Nicolás Maduro's head to a staggering $50 million, publicly accusing Maduro of personally running massive drug smuggling operations. This move basically reclassified a head of state as a wanted fugitive, setting a dangerous new precedent. Throughout the fall of 2025, the US military beefed up its presence in the Caribbean. They intercepted oil tankers and even launched strikes on ships they claimed were trafficking drugs for the Venezuelan government. In late December, the CIA began running covert operations on Venezuelan soil. Then, on New Year's Day, 2026, Maduro went on state television. He said he was open to negotiating a drug-fighting deal, but accused the US of really just wanting to seize Venezuela's massive oil reserves. It was too little, too late. The gears of war were already turning. The White House had decided that talking was over. The only path forward, as they saw it, was force. Inside Operation Absolute Resolve, President Trump gave the final go-ahead at 10:46 p.m. Eastern Time on Friday, January 2nd. Almost instantly, Operation Absolute Resolve was a go. This was a mission of unbelievable scale and complexity. All through the night, more than 150 US aircraft, we're talking fighters, bombers, and electronic warfare planes, took off from 20 different bases and naval carriers. Their one and only job was to dismantle Venezuela's air defenses and punch a safe corridor through for the extraction team. Leading the charge were the US Army's most elite units, Delta Force operators, flown in by the legendary 161st Special Operations Aviation Regiment, better known as the Night Stalkers. To stay off the radar, their stealth helicopters flew just 100 feet above the Caribbean Sea, streaking toward Caracas in total darkness. As they neared the capital, the city was thrown into chaos. Airstrikes and cyber attacks took out power and communications, hitting key military sites like La Carlota Air Base and Fuerte Tiuna, Venezuela's biggest military complex. The element of surprise was absolute. Just after 1 a.m., the Night Stalkers descended on Maduro's heavily guarded compound. As the operators rappelled down, they took fire, and one helicopter was hit but managed to stay in the air. Delta Force, backed by FBI agents, breached the compound. Inside, they found Nicolás Maduro and his wife, Celia Flores. The official U.S. story is that they gave up without much of a fight. President Trump later claimed that Maduro tried to run to a steel-reinforced safe room, but was cut off by the sheer speed and precision of the American forces. By 3:29 a.m., the captured president and First Lady were on board the USS Iwo Jima, an amphibious assault ship waiting in international waters. From there, they were flown to Stewart Air National Guard Base in New York and handed over to the Justice Department. The official charges, which replaced a 2020 indictment, now included narco-terrorism, drug trafficking, and conspiracy. In just a few hours, the United States had done what many thought was impossible: captured the leader of a sovereign nation and brought him to U.S. soil to stand trial. What happens now? With Maduro in U.S. custody, the global political landscape has been completely upended. The big question on every world leader's mind is, what is Trump's next move? His answer was as blunt as it was shocking. In a press conference from Mar-a-Lago, Trump declared, "So, we are going to run the country until such time as we can do a safe, proper, and judicious transition. It has to be judicious." This stunning statement confirmed the world's worst fears. The US wasn't just there to arrest one man. It was planning a long-term intervention, essentially installing its own provisional government. Back in Caracas, a power vacuum was forming. Venezuela's Supreme Court quickly ordered Vice President Delcy Rodriguez to take over the presidency to guarantee the administrative continuity of the state. Flanked by military leaders, Rodriguez appeared on state television, calling the capture a barbaric and illegal and illegitimate kidnapping. She demanded proof of life for Maduro and his wife, and insisted he was the only president of Venezuela. But even as she projected strength, reports were surfacing of contacts between her and U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio. President Trump even claimed Rodriguez was essentially willing to do what we think is necessary, a statement she furiously denied in public. Trump's plans go far beyond politics. He openly said he wants to bring in major U.S. oil companies to fix the badly broken infrastructure and get the oil flowing again. "We built Venezuela's oil industry with American talent," he claimed, "and the socialist regime stole it from us." This revealed a clear economic motive for the operation, suggesting that control over the world's largest proven oil reserves was a major part of the endgame. The message was unmistakable. America wasn't just there for justice, it was there for business. A world divided. While Washington celebrated a flawless operation, the rest of the world reacted with a mix of shock, outrage, and nervous silence. America's rivals didn't mince words. China's foreign ministry said it was deeply shocked by the blatant use of force against a sovereign state and demanded Maduro's immediate release. Russia was extremely alarmed and condemned the act as armed aggression. Even America's traditional allies were uneasy. The United Nations Secretary-General said he was deeply alarmed, calling the operation a dangerous precedent that could have troubling consequences for the whole region. Latin American leaders were split. Argentina's president, Javier Milei, celebrated the news, posting "Freedom advances," while Colombia's President Gustavo Petro called for an emergency UN meeting to reject the aggression against the sovereignty of Venezuela. It's worth noting that the US had sanctioned President Petro just a few months earlier, in October 2025, accusing him of letting drug trafficking get out of control, a move that now seems like a calculated step to neutralize any regional pushback. But the biggest problem with the operation is that it's a clear violation of international law. Legal experts point out that the raid breaks the UN Charter, which forbids using force against the political independence of any state. The US acted without a UN Security Council mandate, which is the only legal way to authorize such an intervention. Domestically, the Trump administration is leaning on a controversial legal argument called the Kerr-Frisbee Doctrine. This basically says that US courts can prosecute a defendant no matter how they got here, even if they were kidnapped. While that might offer a thin legal cover for a trial in the US, it does nothing to solve the problem of the invasion's illegality on the world stage. America has sent a message that it's willing to operate outside the established international order to get what it wants. And that's a decision that will have consequences for years to come. Operation Absolute Resolve was, by all accounts, a military masterpiece, carried out with a level of precision few countries could ever hope to match. But the aftermath has thrown the world into a state of deep uncertainty. Snatching a sovereign leader from his own country is a move with no modern parallel, and what happens next could either reshape the Western Hemisphere or spark a conflict much bigger than anyone bargained for. The line between arresting a fugitive and forcing regime change has been completely erased. President Trump has rolled the dice, and now the entire world is holding its breath to see where they land. So what do you think about Operation Absolute Resolve? Was it a justified strike against a criminal regime or a dangerous overreach of power? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments. And if you want more deep dives into the huge geopolitical events shaping our world, make sure you subscribe and ring that notification bell. Thanks for watching.